If you're a painter that uses an iPhone or Apple products, you're going to be stoked about this video. I want to show you how you can create a quote inside of PaintScout using Siri and talking with your voice to initiate the creation of a quote. This is absolutely mind-boggling, so stick around and let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Chris. I am the owner of Boolean Automation, where our mission is to free you up to do what you love. I just found out last week that you can initiate webhooks with Siri on an iPhone or an Apple product. And the opportunities in front of me, my mind is racing with all these different options. So I want to dive into this particular one. But first, if you're a painter or a painting company, our business exists to serve you specifically. So please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, because we exist to free you up, and we're going to keep making videos to do just that. So let's get into this topic on Apple Siri and initiating webhooks and all that magic stuff. All right. So first thing that we're going to need is on our Mac, you are going to need Zapier, PaintScout, and the Shortcuts app that is built into your Mac. So if you've never used Shortcuts before, just search in the applications for Shortcuts. Every Apple product has this, and we're going to dive into this. So the very first thing that we need to do is go to Zapier, and we are going to create a new Zap that is going to catch a webhook for us. So in here, there is this new webhooks by Zapier, and this action is we're going to say we want to catch a hook. And by the way, if you're like, I don't know what a webhook is, I have a video that I'm going to link in the description below where I explain webhooks to my 6-year-old. So super simple. If you're new to webhooks, they're not that complicated. It takes a little bit of coding, but they're massively powerful. So take a look at that in the video, in the description down below. So what we have here is our initial webhook. Now we're going to jump into Shortcuts, and we're going to create a get contents of URL. So we're going to select this one, double click it, click show more. And the method that we're going to use is post. And we want to do a JSON, and we're going to add a text here. This was just going to be, we'll just make this super simple and say, the first thing that we're going to do is project type, let's say. And we could add more variables in the future. I just genuinely want to see if we can do a super simple action like this. So we have the information that we're going to send, which is a project type variable. And then we need to put the URL from our webhook right here. So I just pasted in the URL from Zapier into this. And now, literally that simple, we can click submit and allow this. And you're going to see over here when we click test trigger, and there we go, it got that request, and it had one variable called project type, and it's INTP, which is exactly what we did. So we are off and running. Believe it or not, we're going to call this create PaintScout quote. Amazing. So now inside of here, we're going to pull up the PaintScout, and over here, we have it already connected. In our case, we're going to just click create quote and continue, choose account. Let's do the Boolean YouTube PaintScout and go continue. And now this is the minimum number of fields that are required to create a quote. So let's just go ahead and say that we're just doing this as a test. So we're going to say this one is for Darth Vader. And there we go. So this is literally, we're going to see how quickly we can get a quote created in PaintScout from our voice. Click test. And if I go over to my PaintScout account, once this says it was successful, there we go. So it just tested it. I go look at PaintScout. Let's refresh. And what do you know? There we go. We have a Darth Vader quote just created. Nothing in here because we haven't selected anything else. But just to show you that this is crazy, I'm going to delete this. And we are going to select delete. So this is literally how easy it is with Apple Shortcuts. We just initiated a webhook. So now what I can do is if I save this and get out of this piece, I can exit out of this. And so now I have this, looks like it didn't save my, did it save it? Edit. So I have to type it, I didn't hit save. Create PaintScout quote. There we go. So I hit enter. Now it's saved. Let's exit out of this. So now I have a Siri shortcut called Create PaintScout Quote. So you can check this out with my voice. Let's go ahead and refresh this and just to make sure that we don't have one already. So there is not currently a Darth Vader quote in here. I select Create PaintScout Quote. Just said done. Let's go check the, oh, whoops. I didn't publish it. It's not going to work. We're going to try one more time, publish this. So nothing happened there. So let's go ahead and do this one more time. Create PaintScout Quote. Says okay. And then we're going to go look at the history, refresh this. And what do you know? Just a few seconds ago at 1:02, it ran. And if I go check out PaintScout, unbelievable. Like, I don't know if you guys are appreciating this. I'm so pumped about this. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So if you're following along, let's take another couple steps here. I can now, with my phone, say, hey, Siri, create PaintScout quote. It says okay. And let's double check to make sure Zapier is on and functioning. And right now, because the version of the PaintScout quote that I'm using, or PaintScout that I'm using, it has a limit where it can only run so many times in a given time frame. But you can see that it just caught it, and it would create the PaintScout quote for us. So this is great news. Now let's take it a step further. What's the practical usage of this? So some of you are probably saying, this is cool, but why would I use my voice? I can just have, an automation that creates the quote for you. That's true. But what you can, if you think about this, if you have an event on your calendar, so I pulled this up here, say I have a bunch of quotes on my calendar for today. And for some reason, let's say that I go to an interior quote for Chris Kiefer. Let's say my automation already created an interior quote for Chris Kiefer. And now I need to create an exterior quote because I showed up to bid the interior of this person's house and they're saying, hey, I'd like an exterior quote as well. What you can do here is we're going to modify our Zap now to add an exterior painting quote inside of PaintScout in the case that it was forgotten. So if you think about what we'd have to do here is that in our Zap, it's going to initiate from that webhook like we said. So Siri's going to trigger that. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is go look at our calendar to see which estimate am I at right now when I am creating this. So I'm going to do find event. So it is going to find an event. We're going to choose my calendar and continue. And I need to choose the name, which I called my YouTube example calendar. So I select that. I don't need to search for any particular term because I want it to return all of them. And then you can see here that my only criteria is that I want to make sure that the end time is after right now. So meaning that it's going to give us the order back. If I've got multiple quotes, it's going to return the one that is the nearest event after that ends after whatever time it is right now. So I can go ahead here and click continue. And then I'm going to test this step. And let's see if it got the right one. So it's returning interior painting. And if I go look at my calendar, that's the one, Chris Kiefer. Just for the sake of showing you this, if we switch this around and I move interior painting to end there, and let's say now I have this event. And again, remember, I'm saying, show me an event where the end of the event is after whatever time it is right now. So if we test this again, it should show us EXTP Natalie as the event. Let's go ahead and try this, retest the step. And EXTP Natalie. Sweet. So if let's move this back to how I had it. We have the 3 o'clock there. And let's say, again, the use case of this is that I'm on site with the person right now, and I need to make an additional quote. So in this case, we have the exterior, or let's go ahead and retest one more time. Get back to that interior one. And you can see in the case that I'm using here, I always recommend having some consistency in the description. So I have the customer's email address here, and I also have the customer's phone number. So what we can do is inside of Zapier, they have a really cool step here that's called Formatter. And Formatter has an action where you can, with text, you can extract an email address. So I want to do email, extract email address. And all I have to do is put the entire contents of the description of the event, and it's going to return the first email address that it finds in that batch of text. So I click test, and what do you know? There it is. We got an email address. So continue here. And I like to rename all that we're doing here. So this one is going to be called extract email from Google Calendar description. And by the way, I just want to take a second to say, if this is valuable, like this video, what else do you want to see Siri do in your painting business? If you got other ideas, leave them in the comments down below. I am so pumped about integrating Siri and my voice into various actions throughout the day. So I'd love to know what would be valuable. What would you like to see? And we'll get that coming in a future video. All right. So we catch the hook from Siri. We're going to search the calendar for whatever event is happening right now. And I should also clarify that this would return an event, even if it wasn't. This is actually a good clarification. Let's say that we don't have an event happening right now. What it's going to do is it's going to return whatever event is next on my calendar where the end time is in the future. So if I test this again, I should still get that same one. Even though there's not an event happening right now, I'm still returning that event because again, the action that I'm searching for is the end time is sometime after right now. And it's whatever event is the next one that happens in the future, if that makes sense. All right. So we extracted the email here. Now the next thing is inside of PaintScout, because and again, in this particular use case, I am assuming that I already created a contact in PaintScout. So now what I want to do is find contact, and I can find the contact inside of PaintScout based on the email address that I was just given or that I just extracted from my Google Calendar event. So I can do this and click search for that. So I hit continue, test the step. And because I already know that I have a person in my contacts, that's chris@sky.media. So we have that already, which is great. And we can hit, it has an address, city, all that stuff, which is fantastic. And so now I can go and create the quote here, which is going to be, let's fill in all these details. So instead of having a hard-coded variable, we're going to take whichever the contact name is from this step and put all those variables in. So last name, contact email is going to be the same email that was in the previous step as well. Let's do the address. And we've got the address field. And just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do the rest of this, but you get the idea that we can pull in all that information. And let's go ahead and hit continue. And let's go ahead and publish this. So use Siri to create new PaintScout quote. So we can do that. And so now that's published. So if we go over to shortcuts one more time, because the interior one here with Chris is the next one that I have available, that's the one that it should create a new quote for Chris. And one thing I forgot, almost forgot this. Inside this create quote one, we want to, the quote type we're going to use is exterior, and the quote template is, actually, let's not do that one. Let's do interior cabinet, and the quote template is going to be, well, I guess we got to do painting because I don't have the other quote set up. So we're going to do interior painting quote and the template type. There we go. Let's publish that. All right. So we can now, that's live. I'm going to use Siri. Let's go back to our shortcut and make sure we have this correct. So create PaintScout quote is what we're doing. And create PaintScout quote. So it just ran. We are going to look, it's playing right now. Still processing, and it was successful. Let's go over to here, go to our estimates, and there we go. It successfully pulled in the project type. I got all my information. Keep in mind, I didn't map all the variables, but you can see how that would be possible. The next thing though, let's say, what if I don't always want to do an interior painting quote? I need to find out, like, do I want to create an interior or an exterior or cabinet or whatever it is? So what we can do is modify, this goes back to our shortcut here. We could, when this runs, we could have it say input. So we want to ask for input right here. And right when it starts, what's going to happen is ask for input of text, and the answer, or what we're going to get, is what project type is the quote for? And the default answer is going to be, let's say, EXTP. And should we allow multiple lines? No, we're going to keep it like that, or that's fine. So now the last thing here is on this one, we want to dynamically insert the variable from this to be whatever the input is there. So we're going to delete this. You right click here and say insert variable. We're going to select the provided input from the previous step. So whatever is input there will be mapped there. And now we can go ahead and close out of this. And actually, you know what? There's one more thing we need to do. So because we didn't map this, if you remember, inside of our Zap, we need to test this. So I'm going to click Edit Zap. And we need to make sure that this is coming in the way that we want. So when we go ahead and click play, it says what type of quote is this for? So it's EXTP, or I could choose INTC and type that in instead and say done. And then when I go to test it here, I'm going to click find new records, and it got a new one. Perfect. It got INTC. And so if I test this in a different way one more time, I want to do EXTP now, hit done. It's going to process, find new records. And what do you know? EXTP. So that's working correctly. Then on the PaintScout creation here, we want to make sure that in the action, we are mapping not a hard-coded variable, but that we're actually bringing in the correct webhook that came in, or the project type that came from the webhook. So once again, I can do EXTP. And the only thing you need to make sure on the PaintScout side of things is that on this part here, or sorry, for the quote templates, we need to make sure that in the estimates, we have an EXTP estimate type. And then for templates, we want to make sure that this one is called INTC and confirm, and then go back to settings. And we want to do one more copy. And this one is going to be called EXTP. And this is going to be for an exterior painting type. So now, again, the templates can be whatever you want, but I just want to emphasize that you have to have an estimate type that matches your project type, as well as a template. And I have talked about setting these up in a separate video, which I'll link in the description down below, but that's a prerequisite as well. So I think we have everything done. We're going to do this. And just my update was added a dynamic project type input to Siri, publish. All right, so that is live. We have that turned on. Let's go ahead and test this out and see. I'll show you the estimates again. I don't have anything created. The time is still, this is in the future, so that should still work out good. This is an interior. We're going to say that I need to create an exterior quote. So I'm going to do it from my phone this time. And let's go ahead and make sure that this is, the create PaintScout quote is live. Here we go. You're going to see my phone screen here. Create PaintScout quote. EXTP. So I just said the letters EXTP and it said okay. And if we watch here, so it just submitted it. Let's watch what variable came in. And again, like I said, there's just this error with PaintScout in particular. It's maxing out because I'm trying so many different runs in a short period of time. Once this becomes a verified app, that's not going to happen anymore. But I do want to show you that we can see the value that came in through the data. So because I said EXTP, it came in like that. And again, if I were to run this on desktop so you can see the whole interaction, create PaintScout quote.
What project type is the quote for?
INTC. So once again, we should be able to see it's playing. And we're going to open up this run. And this one, INTC, nailed it. And again, we're going to run into this max on the PaintScout because we have done this too many times. Oh, it looks like actually this one, the timing worked out. So the INTC one has been created. This other one is still waiting to run because we were doing it too many times in a short period of time. But let's go ahead and refresh this. And voila, there it is. That new INTC quote was created. This is absolutely awesome. Hopefully this was valuable for you guys. Like I said, let me know what other things would you like to automate using your voice and talking to Siri on Apple products. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Chris. This is Boolean, where we free you up to do what you love. We'll see you in the next video.